in these unprecedented times where time to line and getting these cars to the sales lot is so important. I mean, you kind of, again, you got to think outside the box. And if it means giving 5-6 cars to your main shop and putting them into the system and tracking them through Rapid, you've got to get it done. You've got to do what it takes.
Hello, and welcome to Your Place. I'm Dennis McGinn, founder and CEO of vehicle reconditioning and communications company, Rapid Recon. At Your Place, we visit with guests at their place of business to engage in conversations about the auto industry. Today, we're talking with Clayton Birtell, Service Director for Honda of downtown Los Angeles. Clayton, Auto Success magazine recently featured you and your recon manager, Zach Nyman, on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Your article began with an interesting comment. No room for errors summarizes your car operation. Tell us about that, will you?
Well, I got to tell you, obviously the post-COVID years have been pretty unprecedented in this business, as we all know. And that phrase actually came from my general manager, our managing partner, Brad Mugg. And we were doing our trade walk one morning, and he said, "Hey, we've only got 50 cars coming in for the next 5 weeks. We cannot fail on used cars," which is totally the case. We've got the responsibility not only for bottom line concerns during these tough times, but one of the things I think that doesn't get enough is we've got a responsibility to our sales staff. When you walk in Monday morning and you've got 4 cars in inventory that are new, and you're looking at 25 salespeople, what are they supposed to do? And so, the pressure is really on Fixed during these times to get these cars out, get them recon, get them to the front line. It does us no good to have 35 cars sitting somewhere in the process waiting to get to that, new car lot or used car lot rather. And, this store going. So, in fact, Dennis, I've had more salespeople apply for fixed operations jobs than I've ever seen in my 35-year career, only because their dealers have not engaged in used cars. And they're thinking, we don't have any cars. Everything that's coming in is sold. So I'm not really sure where my place is or how I make a living, at this dealership. And Fixed seems to be pretty consistent through these times. So yeah, it's a process that we've really had to take a hard look at. And, as my general manager said, there's no room for error when it comes to used cars and getting these through the process quickly.
Sure. So Clayton, tell me about how you're facing some of these big challenges that are coming along with the inventory and your process, to make sure that you know where all your cars are and that they're getting ready as fast as possible.
Well, again, it comes down to staffing and support. We used to think we could run our recon process with one person, and using programs like Rapid Recon, we can track every single bucket. And because of that, we've assigned certain people to be responsible for those buckets. We run that time to line bucket report so we know where our weaknesses are. Like I said, one of the areas that we found was our smog certification. Every car has to be smog certified below 2018 in the state of California, which means we've got to drive it to a location, get it smogged, bring it back. Not only are we talking about manpower, but purchase orders, accounting, and it's just hurting our time to line. So, bringing that in-house has really facilitated that. Without the reporting that your tool provides us, it would be very difficult for us to look, holistically at the process and say, hey, this area we're just not doing a good job on.
So that bringing that smog certification inside, I assume you've had to get outside resources and equipment to do that?
We have, yeah. The state has a very good program put together, and it's about a 3-month process to get that certification done with California. But and then of course you've got to find a smog certified technician, which is a whole nother challenge. But we felt doing 250 to 300 used cars It's something that we had to do once we really started taking a look at the reports and finding out what was the holdup in our used car process.
And what if you had to look at today at your Rapid Recon report? What does it tell you your next set of challenges are? I mean, to stay on top of the time to line.
You know, it's kind of a dirty word, and everybody likes to blame the parts department, of course. But we can
Yep.
never be too good on parts. One of the things going into this, era of demand for used cars, we had a staff up in our parts department. No longer could we wait 2 to 3 days for, let's say, the Mercedes store down the street to bring us a part. If the part was in stock, we had to fast track that part. Literally get a guy say, "Hey, we're not going to wait for delivery. We're going to go pick it up. Keep this car in the stall." And of course, we're a six-story facility, so with parking being challenging and just keeping things streamlined and keeping that process going, the more we can keep that car in the stall and get finished the same day, the better chances we have with getting that car to detail and through the process.
What is your volume looking like? I mean, how many? What capacity do you have to be ready to handle these days?
Are you speaking relatively to like technicians and things like that?
Well, yeah, the number of cars, and then of course the number of technicians to support that on an average.
Right. Well, we've got 36 bays in this shop. We've actually got 36 technicians. So we've been real fortunate just because of our volume that we've kind of become the place in LA Metro that, you want to come and work because we're pushing the volume. And one of that is the commitment to used cars. So we do have a staff of dedicated used car guys, but if we take 25, 26 trades in on a weekend, we're going to hand them out to anybody that wants to come in early or stay late to get these cars done. Okay. Which again, without Rapid Recon, that would never happen because there's no way you can track 20 different technicians and 20 different cars and try to figure out, what's happening with those unless you've got a centralized system to track that. So we have literally added our technicians in, to Rapid Recon and so that we can also track their cars. And, it's really helped us in our time to line. We've got to do what, we can't look at the general, the mold of, hey, we just want to have a used car department, which, I would have preached for years, send your cars through a dedicated process. But in these unprecedented times where time to line and getting these cars to the sales lot is so important. I mean, you got to think outside the box. And if it means giving 5, 6 cars to your main shop and putting them into the system and tracking them through Rapid, you've got to get it done. You've got to do what it takes.
I know that the technicians are very they're very good at what they do. Obviously, or they wouldn't want to do what they
Sure.
do because and they're well paid for it as well.
Hmm.
But a lot of times they're very particular about what tools they use, and I'm interested in what your feedback is about their use of Rapid and compared to other things that they've used before.
Well, I got to tell you, there's very few programs in this industry, in my opinion, and there'll probably be some haters for me saying that. But there's very few programs in the industry that actually works. Your program works. I've never had a program implemented where so many technicians came down within 24 to 48 hours and said, this is exactly what we needed, right? Generally, it's like, why are you forcing me to do this? And, most technicians are not high on the IT side, let's be honest.
Right.
But for them to gravitate towards this, in fact, they all have the app, they all put the pictures in. Um, for me to go back, especially if I've got a customer concern in the drive and to be able to go into Rapid and type in the last date of the VIN and look at the pictures of the car and what exactly we did, it's saved us a lot of money. But hey, if it's something we need to take responsibility for, let's take responsibility for it. Let's do the right thing, and the program allows us to do that. But if you would have told me, 1 to 2 to 5 years ago that technicians would actually want to take pictures of a car and put them into a
Yeah.
program, I would have said you're nuts.
Yeah.
but your program makes it so simple that even the toughest of technician sees value in adding pictures. So we joke, but in another year we're going to think, wow, you actually sold something and didn't put pictures in, and the customer bought it. Who would have thought anybody would just trust a deal? So you've kind of paved the way for us to move into other products and say, hey, we really should have pictures, and this really isn't that hard to do.
It's so good for you to say that because, I mean, I started this business 13 years ago, and you're right. We never, back then, we never envisioned the whole image part of this business. But now it's essential. I mean, and of course,
Mm-hmm.
all those people that didn't have iPhones back then, they weren't used to taking all those pictures. But now
Right.
it's everywhere. So, uh, and that whole proof point. What did you fix the before and after? I mean, yeah, I love hearing that
Mm-hmm.
too, and it's not going to slow down. And in fact, I'm seeing where now some of uh, some of that information, the customers, the buyers, prospective buyers want to know that. They want to see that. Okay, show me what was really done to the car. I mean, they're paying
Mm-hmm.
more than they would like to for the cars, and they're keeping them longer than they used to. So I think you know getting to be more important, in my view, to tie together all that great work your technicians are doing with the customer's decision. More and more as time goes on, they're going to want to have a just like they do with Carfax. I want to actually know everything that was done to this car that
Mm-hmm.
I'm now going to keep for a long time, and I'm willing to pay a premium for it. And your brand, of course, you've got one of the best brands around. Honda has one of the best reputation for longevity, I think, in the industry. So that's great. What any other thoughts that you have? Do you have any insight where you might go next to continue down the track that you're on? Additional training or things that uh, you can do to keep people, moving down the same high level of efficiency track?
Yeah, well, and every day is a new day. If we're not evolving, we're not keeping up, right? So, I think we've got to do that first of all. I think the next thing for us is, there's always that time frame when we take the car in trade, it gets parked in the fresh trades. I think for us, the next big phase is going to be pre-ordering those parts. So the paperwork's not done in finance yet, and we're not 100% sure until the deal is done and it's officially ready to go into the write-up bucket that it's ours. But we can already see that it needs tires. We can already see that it's going to need a windshield. We can already see that it's going to need a leather repair. And we all know the cars we're going to keep, right? I can go out there and look at an 18 Civic and I know that I'm going to keep an 18 Civic, right? And we're going as far as to say, hey, look, even if we recon this car and we had to unwind a deal, or something happened where God forbid the deal didn't go through, you know isn't it worth spending $500 to $600 to try to get the other cars, the other 99.9% of the cars, through the process faster? So that's
Yeah.
really our next step. Doing our good walk arounds when we do our trade walks, getting those tickets going, and getting those parts coming. So by the time that hits the stall, we're going to have the maintenance parts, of course, but of course it always comes down to tires or trim items, or you know um, windshields are a big one here in LA. But having those available is just going to streamline the process.
Yeah. So um, yeah, those are the items that take time, and you can't stock all the different variations unless you've got
No.
some intelligence built in, right? You can't
Hmm.
you can't afford to do it all, but you can't afford to wait. Um, when you have those situations, you got cars in the queue. You have to decide what the order of things, especially if you don't have the parts on hand. You bring it back in
Hmm.
and move it through. And I assume the salespeople are really anxious to see as soon as possible what cars are coming up the line for the customers that they have. So, um, but That's really fascinating. What of the things that you see uh, that you'd like to see more of? Do you have any insight for me?
Yeah, no, and I can't say enough about the program. I mean, it's one of the programs that actually works, and I have absolutely loved the fact that we can put our inspections online through the program, where we can do the 60 point, we can do this inspection all digitally. We actually make our finance managers before the office will accept a deal. They've got to have the inspection sheet, and it's got to be signed by the customer. So having that
Mm-hmm.
100% digital versus the old, God bless carbon
Yeah.
paper. I feel bad for the manufacturers, but the days of coming down and going through the file and looking for an inspection sheet, with some grease on it, and but having them to be able to go into Rapid right there from the finance desk if they don't have the paperwork, print that out for the customer, walk them through it. That's been a total game changer for us. And I'll thank you on behalf of the sales staff as well, because it's really, really changed the game for how quickly we can get these deals to the office.
Well, that's good to hear. That was the hope for doing that, and uh, I mean, we're always looking at ways we can make it easier. But when I hear that the techs uh, who typically don't like a lot of things, and they do like what we're giving them to work
Mm-hmm.
with, it's helping the business. That just spurs us on to you can continue down the track. So I love hearing your feedback. Clayton, I think we're going to wrap up here, but I really appreciate your time and the support that you've given, and the strength of your operation there is phenomenal. I mean, I know what you're doing is hard to do, and it's like it's a race. Okay, how do you keep up to keep everybody motivated?
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate when I get feedback such as yours, where the tool is actually not something holding them back. I mean, we're used to this industry hearing about things that don't work, and
Right.
so when you hear about things that do work, especially when it comes to technicians, who if they don't like doing things that they don't think are productive. So I really appreciate your feedback and your support, and it does help us to keep moving down the right track. I mean, it's kind of how we got here and how we stay here is working with operations like you and your team. So thank you for all the support you've given us. And anything else before we sign off here? And I know the holidays are coming up, and that'll be another big round of rushing around, I assume, for you in
Absolutely.
downtown. Yeah, there'll be a
Absolutely.
lot of yeah. Those trades will start to stack up again as people are trying to do their end of the year shopping.
You bet,
So
you bet, and we welcome every one of them too. So, no, Dennis, I'd just like to say it's a pleasure and an honor to talk to you. Just a fantastic program. 100% believe in what you're doing, and God bless you for doing it. So, thanks for having me on. It's been my pleasure.
So Clayton, thank you for spending all the time with us, and just really appreciate all the supports that you've given and all the feedback and the opportunity to hear from you and from your folks about how Rapid Recon's helping you. So thank you, and have a great uh, rest of the year, and we'll be right here watching, helping, supporting you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. This is my pleasure.